You'll probably never see one of these, except here. This is a Bach Mercedes trumpet made in the New York factory in 1942, which is unique in several ways. It has red or gold brass slide crooks, nickel-silver inner slides, a third slide water key, a one-piece bell, and a slightly different mouthpiece receiver than those that were used at the time. What's a Mercedes? Mercedes was the midline of Bach instruments from the 1920s up until the late 70s or early 80s. The quality of the early Mercedes horns is very high and shouldn't really be considered inferior to the Stradivarius. I bought this from the original owner, who played it until 1949. It was then stored for nearly 60 years. You can read about Mercedes instruments on a website called Vincent Bach's World. Roy Hempley co-wrote many interesting articles for the Con Selmer website, back when there was actually useful information to be found on that website. Those were taken down, and Roy brought them over to his own website and wrote some new articles as well, including an article about Mercedes production, which actually features this trumpet, among others. You can also find a lot of detailed information on various eras of Bach production there, all thoroughly documented. So, what's unique about this instrument, besides its excellent condition for an instrument that's 78 years old? See the red brass here contrasting with the regular yellow brass here on the ferrule and the brace. You can see Mercedes instruments generally only had one tuning slide brace at this time. That was later changed, and they had two. The third slide, for example, is different in that it has no stop. It's cut slightly different. It does have a fixed ring, and as you can see, this particular example has a water key on the third slide, which is kind of unusual. It was an option, but especially on a midline instrument, for somebody to ask for that or for it to be put on automatically by the factory is quite rare. Again, back to the slides. This is also unique in that the inner slide material is nickel silver, as opposed to normal yellow brass, as this outer slide is made of. Although this is the Model E valve design, which I believe is used on Bach trumpets to this day, this horn has some unusual valve caps. Also, these are nickel-plated pistons, not monal. They hadn't started to use that. So on these earlier instruments, the pistons are either nickel or, in some cases, stainless steel. The serial number was engraved on the action rod, which is also nickel. They're usually brass. Inside the top cap and on the valve guide, again, nickel instead of the usual brass. Looking at the top cap, you can see where it differs from what we would normally see. The top cap usually holds the bumper, but on this trumpet, the bumper is inside the valve button and the cap is just solid brass. This horn did receive a Bob Reeves valve alignment some years ago, partly because it wasn't possible to find the correct size inner and outer felts, and also because the response was pretty off. It was a tight-feeling horn. You can see the valves were way out of alignment. It was a good investment. Most Mercedes theoretically had two-piece bells, where you would have first this long part from the first valve down to about here, and then the actual bell-shaped part of it would be soldered on there. Stradivarius has a one-piece bell. This trumpet also has a one-piece bell. You wouldn't be able to see it on the video, but the seam flows directly right here. There's no extra seam as a two-piece bell would have. How do we know what the bell and the mouthpipe are? Well, that's where we get into shop cards. What is a shop card? Shop cards were an internal use only form of record keeping in the factory, and although they're not always complete, they can tell us quite a bit about a given instrument, such as the serial number, the model, although in this case it's incorrect. This is actually a Mercedes trumpet. The bore, the type of valve used, the valve fit, here notated in Vincent Bach's distinct handwriting, the mouth pipe, the bell brass supplier, the gauge of brass used, date completed. It's a bit hard to read, but it says May 7th, 1942. Date sold, left blank. Finish, left blank. It should have read 1.5 CL. That would be clear lacquer, although all the lacquer is gone on this instrument. And the customer, which appears to be the name of a music store. Here we have the signed certificate of guarantee. Let's take a look at the case candy, to borrow a term from the guitar world. Case candy is all the stuff that came with the instrument. First of all, there's the original case, which for being 78 years old is in great shape. On the left, you can see a care booklet showing the smoke test for leakage. Great for kids. We have a lyre, a cleaning rod, a price list catalog, and a tin of slide grease, which actually still has grease inside it. This horn was a real find. The question is, how does it play? How does it sound? Well, we heard a little bit of it in the intro music, but we'll listen to it again shortly. This horn is a medium bore. It has a 37 bell and a number 7 lead pipe. 7 lead pipe is a little bit more open, supposedly, than the standard 25 that we know and love. This horn has a really compact sound. It plays really well in tune, and, well, I could just babble on here. Why don't we just listen to it?
Thank you.